Alright, so hello to anyone listening. I'm going to be sharing all of my drama with the FFA today, and I actually made a video almost a week and a half ago, but unfortunately I was unable to post it because of my mostly crappy internet. So I'm doing a live video instead. So I'm going to be basically talking about my drama with the FFA. And if you don't know what the FFA is, it stands for Future Farmers of America. And I'm going to share you with how I got in the FFA, what I was doing in that particular field, and stuff like that. So, also going to be eating some chocolate. So let's get started. It started with last year when I started taking agri-science classes at my edtech school. So agri-science is basically about plants and animals. And at that time, I had a teacher. Her last name was Holbrook. And so she basically taught us about plants, mostly plants, and then some stuff about animals too. We had a few games that had animals and stuff like that. So after this, I think it was before the school year ended, and she had came to me and asked me if I wanted to do this thing called co-op, which co-op is when you go to your edtech school to take care of an animal. You train with that animal, you feed it, you clean out its pen, things like that. And I was like, you know what? This is a great learning experience for me. So I said, sure. Went to their first meeting. I got to meet who else was going to be joining co-op as well, it was only 4 girls this year, which is very different compared to 56 kids that joined last year. And when you think about it, when you think 56 kids were there last year, but they didn't come back the following year, when I tell you what happens next, you'll probably understand it a little bit more. So, everything was going well. We talked about what times we're going to be there, what we're essentially going to be doing, which for at that moment in time is just getting there. I think it was at 7:30. Yeah, it was at 8:30. And we would clean out our animals' pens. And then we would be just making sure they have water. And when we are ready, we will start training with them. Because essentially what we're training these animals for is to show them at fair. And this fair actually happened a couple months ago in my area. So just so you know, that went well. So when I went to that meeting, it was an interview. And I brought over a contract that they gave me previously, and I had me and my parent to sign. And so that interview, it was pretty good. I got to meet other people that would be helping out. I met the woman in charge of this whole ordeal, which she was actually pretty nice, such that once we get to fair, she's going to be for all the kids. She has a camp. She will be having a camper there. And then we can use her camper to change into clothes if need be. So at that interview, that's where it really started off as between good and bad. So when we talked about what animal I wanted to be taken care of, I said, either goats or sheep. And there's steers, sheep, goats, and pigs. So they said, well, it's the oldest gets to pick first. So the oldest gets to pick first. I'm not the oldest kid who went in for that in one of those interviews. Okay? So I wanted to do either sheep or goats. They said, it's the oldest picks first. And there was already 2 other kids who went in for an interview. Someone who was like the oldest out of all 3 of us girls chose goats. And someone just a year older than me picked sheep. So what do I get stuck with? I get stuck with pigs. And so it's not that bad at the beginning. It's just, waking up on time, going there, taking care of the animals. And after a little bit, like after school year ended, because we were just working on weekends before that. And after the school year ended, it was like really hectic because I was working like 3 to 4 times a day. And I was like, that's a lot. Like the person who was in charge of this at the time was our ag science teacher, Holbrook. And after that school year ended and after I started going to her classes, I started liking her less because she was in charge of mostly everything. Making sure we showed up there on time. And, they have to have an adult at the school to supervise the kids as they're doing everything there. So she was the one that was there to supervise us and stuff like that. And she was also in charge of scheduling all of us. And, it didn't really piss me off that much in the beginning because we were just doing weekends. And then I got, scheduled 3-4 times a day. Scheduled 3-4 times a week. And it was, really hectic. And then once we, after, a month or so, they were like, all right, we're changing the times that you guys have to be there. It's not going to be 8:30. It's going to be 7:30. And that just, really made me more angry because I wasn't an early riser. And, during all of this, I was. But now I'm just not. I'm staying up late. I'm doing more stuff around the house and stuff like that. So I'm staying up more, sleeping in more. And so I wasn't liking Holbrook because I felt like when I was there, in my opinion, when I was there, I wasn't getting stuff done fast enough. Because when you go there, you are not just cleaning out your animals' pens. You're cleaning out all the other pens too. And the way they had it is there would be 2 kids there and 1 adult. And that's usually how it went. Sometimes we were scheduled together 3-4 times a day, sometimes less. It just depended on what was going on. And I felt like when she was around me, I couldn't fast enough. And so I just felt weird around her. I couldn't get stuff done around her. I was scared. I was essentially scared of her. And so it was probably a month or so later, between the beginning of co-op and the end of co-op when we would take animals to fair. Between co-op and the beginning of co-op and the end fair. Holbrook just stopped. She just left out of the blue. And so we have these group chat. We had one group chat at the time, and so I checked my phone one day, and it's from this woman Brooke who before Holbrook left came into this to help us out, and Brooke said, Holbrook left, blah blah blah. And so I was like, what the fuck? Because what the hell? You don't ever leave in this sort of particular thing But I think she just because, like, she was the adult, she was, like, the teacher and everything, I'm not sure if she was under contract or not, so I think she just left. And Brooke just said, she's not coming back for the 24-25 school year. And at that point, I was, like, kind of between upset and happy because it was like you couldn't like, she wasn't teaching the right kind of stuff that I wanted to do because I wanted to be a veterinarian or at the very least a vet tech. So I wanted because that's why I was taking the class. But I was kind of like essentially happy that she wasn't coming back, but also like upset, like who's gonna be helping us out? And it's this woman. Her name is Brooke. I her last name is like super weird to pronounce. I'll bring it for you guys. It's but because in co-op you can raise them. In the beginning, she was kind of cool, but at that point, I was like, "Who's gonna be getting?" But then I like saw her on the phone for like most of the time, and it was like, "Why are you?" On?" It was odd, but nobody was teaching me how to raise my pigs, and so my mother was like, maybe I'll just do some research on like what you should be doing, like how to train these pigs. And a lot of people were, you got to start training them early, or else it ain't gonna go well. So um every this before Holbrook left, she was teaching this other girl to how to train, like helping her train her sheep. And I found out that's all Holbrook knew what to do. It was super funny. Like all Holbrook knew what to do was like train sheep and teach us about plants every Wednesday. Like, is that all you can do? Because this is like veterinary and plant stuff. Shouldn't you know both? Like really. But yeah, Holbrook was in charge of a lot of stuff. She was in charge of the exercise classes every Wednesday. Also during the day, every day too. She was also in charge of the two greenhouses that are at the ed tech school. She was in charge of watering them. And then on top of that, she also has like a little child, like a baby. Why she left was because it was so much she couldn't do it. Plus, try to spend time with her child and take care of her child. It was really bad. But anyway, back to Brooke. Um, it was going pretty good, but Brooke was not teaching me, and I guess we started kind of late on things because she didn't do anything. She just literally sat her ass on her phone. Like kids these days, they will just sit on their phones for hours when they could be doing something else. And in Brooke's case, she could have been helping me. But she did actually help me. Which I'm glad she did, but we started kind of late. We did start late. So Brooke starts teaching me how to train these pigs. Plus, on our meetings, which were like every Tuesday, she there was somebody there like who knew how to train pigs who would help me, which was really good essentially because they trained pigs before. Gave me some great tips. You hit the pig on this side, you don't whip them too hard, give them a little treat if they've done something good, that sort of thing. And I learned that pigs like marshmallows and oranges. So I guess that's one good thing I learned out of this whole ordeal. And not only that, but I learned how to train pigs and take care of them essentially. So here's where it gets weird. It's this one day. It's not just this one day, but it's this woman that really sets me off. And it was the same woman that was in the interview room who was actually in charge of this whole ordeal. Yeah. You know, she was great in the interview room and she was nice, but later on she was just, big fat B word. Know what I mean? um and so that one, like, okay, so they had different adults scheduled for every day, almost every day, for different days to be with us and help us out. And so this one particular day, I was just 8 minutes late, and my mom was just driving me. Like, she was going like 50, 60 miles an hour down the road. And I was only 8 minutes late when I showed up. And this girl, she's an older woman. Her name is Lisa Shatman. That is the worst woman I've probably ever come across in a while. And this is the number one reason why I will never do co-op again, is because of this woman. And when I had gotten there, usually I'm always on time. I'm cleaning out the stalls, I'm working with my pigs, I'm cleaning out every other stall too. Not only that. So I get there 8 minutes late, and this woman is there, and I get out of the car, I go sit my stuff down, I get my boots on, and this woman starts yelling at me for being 8 minutes late. Like, girl, I'm only 8 minutes late. I'm sure me being 8 minutes late is the least of your worries. And apparently it was, because she got pretty angry with me that day. That one particular day. Just that one particular day, I was like upset at her. So she had yelled at me for being 8 minutes late. Right? And so after that conversation with her, well, I can't remember what the conversation entailed because it was like months ago, but she had said something about like, oh, being on time and stuff like that. Like, I'm always on time. And if I'm not on time, I make up for it by doing my work, which is cleaning out pens, feeding the animals, watering the animals, and washing off my animals too, and working with them really hard. And so I start doing my work, right? I go start cleaning out stalls. I make sure the animals have food and water. And essentially, I felt the same thing I felt with Holbrook. Same thing I felt with her, Lisa. I could not, like, work around her. It was, like, really, like, irritating. But there's one thing that Lisa didn't do that Holbrook definitely did. It was because I was like working so slowly that Holbrook would usually say, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" And the reason why she would say that is because she just wants to go home. And that's why I never got to work with my animals, is because I was so slow. And I felt the same thing with Lisa. I felt like I was going really slowly. I felt scared. I felt anxious. I did not feel right around her whatsoever, and it scared me. It really scared me. And that, and when I was done cleaning out the stalls, um, the other girl who was working, it was raining that day, and I was training with my pig, and that particular day, let me tell you, I was not. I was at the apartment with my mom, and I didn't have any like clean jeans at the time. The one pair of jeans I had were like slipping, and I had to pull them up just because. And don't say, well, you should have worn a belt. Yeah, I didn't have a belt at the time. Okay, so my pants were falling down, but I was still working hard. And when I was done training my animal, which Lisa had like actually done pretty good work when she was showing me, okay, when the judge is on this side, you're on the other side. That way the judge can have a good look of your pig. And she really did help me. She did a good job with showing me how to like walk my pig when the judge is around you and stuff. But after I was done, like, it was still raining outside, and the other girl who was there, she wasn't around, but her mother was, and she was standing right next to Lisa with like a yeah, with a look on her face. She was like, and that was the day I just sort of hated that sort of people. And so Lisa had like we were still like out in the rain, and she had started telling me like, "Oh, you have to be on time. You have to wear these types of jeans. You have to wear this. You have to wear that." And she got upset with me for being 8 minutes late yet again. She got upset with me because I was wearing jeans that were falling down. Like, why are you going to yell at me and embarrass me? First of all, just yelling at me in front of somebody else. You're embarrassing me a lot. It made me cry for the things she said. I was just overall upset, and I was trying not to cry because I knew if I cried, I would be showing my weakness to this woman. And me crying, in my opinion, just really embarrasses myself in front of other people. Like, I'll cry around people like mom, dad, and brother, but not like a whole lot of other people, because I feel like it's embarrassing. And so that woman, like, I was like clearly upset. And as soon as I had left with my mom, like as soon as I got in that car and got out of the school, I was bawling to my mom. And she's like, "What's going on? What's going on? Are you okay?" And I had told her what she had said to me. And she was just as upset as I was at her. Like, why would she do that? First of all, why didn't she talk to my mother? Because, first of all, I wasn't the one driving, so why would you yell at me twice for being 8 minutes late? And why would you not talk to my mom? Like, my mom was upset that she was just yelling at me. Like, why would she yell at you and not talk to me? And why would she be doing it in front of this other woman? And so it was really bad that day. And I knew from then on, I did not like that woman. I didn't even like to work with her or be there with her. But thing is, I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave co-op because I was in a contract with those people. So I can't leave until I'm fully done, which is doing all my work, going to fair and stuff like that. And so that was like the worst day, and my mom was like upset. And so after that, we were just not the greatest amount of, we weren't not happy at those people. And there's another incident that had happened. It was a parent meeting. I think it was July 9th. It's just a couple weeks till fair. Well, actually, yeah, there is another bump that we had before that, I believe. It was, I was working with my pigs one day and they were not listening, and I was like whipping it really hard. And because I wanted it to listen to me, and since I had started so late, this pig was not like really trained that well. And so I was like whipping it really hard, and it had all these red marks on there, like lines and shit. I didn't want to do that, but I didn't know what else to do. And Brooke, she's just sitting there on her phone. It's what she does every time. And it just upset me that she was just sitting there, not doing anything. And so my mom actually had a video of this when I was trying to train with my pigs that day. And Brooke had come up to me. She grabbed the whip and she said, "Do not stop asking," while repeatedly whipping that pig just as hard as I was. It was bad. And so she said, "Do not stop asking. Do not stop asking." And she whipped that pig. She whipped that pig, and it was bad. And so it was like the day after when we had this whole thing going on at the fairgrounds with all of like FFA, everybody, all adults, parents, kids, and stuff like that. I can't remember what it was, but I remember we were bringing like treats and stuff to that event. And so if the event had gone well actually, and by that time there was already a new woman who was taking over for Holbrook for this new year, and I've been getting like along really well with her. My mom actually went to school with her, which was pretty awesome. Um so after that whole event, they took me and my mom out to the side. They said, "We want to talk to you." And Lisa, that woman is like just the boss. She's like, I'm doing this, and you're going to listen to me. She has that attitude. And this woman has that attitude, and I feel like it doesn't matter what she's saying, it's the attitude in her voice, and it's all the time. And she said, with the pig, you know, she's talking about the pigs and how I was whipping them so hard. And you should have seen it. Lisa was in front, her husband was on the side, who's actually the nicest person, one of the nicest people I've met during a fair. And then you had Brooke, who is standing behind everybody, like, oh yeah. Like, Brooke, she was not obviously coming forward with what she did or what she said for that matter. She was standing behind everybody as if, like, they knew what she did, but they were protecting her or some shit. So, my mom, she was like, not happy. She's like, I can't remember what she said. It's been so long. And then they had this guy, Aaron, standing off to the side, like sunglasses, and had this, like, really weird look on his face, like he was the bodyguard. And then you had Tiffany, who was also talking a little bit, and Tiffany Howell, that is also one of the nicest people I've met during fair. She was really nice, really helpful, and I loved her. I love her kids. Makes me want to cry because she was the best. She was just overall like the best person during fair. And she is overall better than Brooke and Holbrook combined. And I think she's going to be a great teacher this year. I think she's actually going to be a better teacher than Holbrook because she might actually get to teaching more like animal stuff and plant stuff as well. But after that confrontation with them, my mom was just getting more upset with this woman, and by that point I'm like, I want to leave. I want to leave. I don't care if I don't get my money, because if you leave, you don't get your money back. Because it was like $100 down payment up front for, like, taking care of pigs. And then so it was $100 deposit was what it was. And it was a lot of money. Like, at that point, I was not caring if I don't get me my money back. I knew I wasn't going to get my money back if I left anyway. But I just wanted to leave. I did not want to deal with the drama anymore. That was like second worst confrontation I've had, and it was with my mom, and she actually like stood up for me. She was like, my daughter, she didn't do this. It's not her fault. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing, and nobody's teaching her what to do. And so after that bump in the road, he was getting towards fair, and I kept training with my pigs. It was getting, at that point, I was having more fun, and no, actually, it was crazy. It was before fair. Let me tell you this one story about co-op. And it's one day where me and one of the other girls show up on time for chores. And we're like, well, where's Brooke? Isn't she supposed to be here today? And here's the most fucked up thing. Brooke, apparently she had something to do that day and just had the wrong day. She had the wrong date down. Obviously, she was like going to a graduation party, and so apparently she forgot she has to be there with us. Like, we can clean, but she has to be there with us when we train our animals, because animals, they like, especially somebody like with a steer, they might get a little rowdy. And there's kids, they have to watch us, you know. And so Brooke, obviously, she had the wrong date, and so I was like super pissed. I was like, well, what the fuck? So we're just here all by ourselves, cleaning all the stalls, which is actually kind of better without the adult there. But that day I could not train with my animals. I was not happy. Like, girl, when you are assigned and you're the one assigning yourself to be there, then why are you not making it? Like, that was the worst day ever. But we got clean done. We actually got to leave earlier because we got done pretty quick and didn't need to train with our animals because she wasn't there. So we left. But that was way before fair. So back to fair. It was the parent meeting that really set me and my mother off. And it was still at that point where I wanted to leave, but I knew I couldn't because of the contract. And so as soon as I had this parent meeting, all the kids and parents are there, and so is the woman in charge of all of us. And she's essentially talking about, what you guys need to have, like bootcut jeans, boots, belts, flannel shirts, and stuff like that. And we also talked about food payment, because if you weren't, I think it was like we were paying her $50-$60 just so we could have food, And so we were paying her a lot just for food. And they said, if you don't need food, you don't need to pay, blah, blah, blah. You'll bring your own food if you want. So, and parent meeting was not that bad. And it was the weirdest because Lisa said, this is really different because last year I had about 56 kids. It was a lot of people, a lot of food. And that's what really made me thinking, okay, I get a few of them may not want to return because they want to pursue something, or maybe they've gotten to that age limit, which is 19, where they cannot do co-op anymore. But I thought a few of them, at least maybe 10, would return. And they did not. They did not return, and made me start thinking, what made them not want to return? And I knew it had something to do with Lisa. Because Lisa, she is like the big B word. She acts all bossy and stuff. She was not like a Karen, but made me sort of think like she was. And so during that time, the only person who I liked was Tiffany Howell. I did not like Brooke. I did not like Lisa. I did like her husband. Her husband was, he's super, super nice. Much better than Lisa. And it was after the meeting, we were going out to train with our animals because we train with our animals every meeting, which were in the afternoons. And so Lisa told us, we had this living experience barn, and so we would like some of you parents to sign up for a few hours. And Mom was writing them down. She was sitting, writing some stuff down, a book for signing up. I was leaning over her, seeing what day she was signing up for, and there was no one else in the room except for me, my mother, and Lisa. And I'm leaning over. My ass isn't like quite in the air. Lisa comes by and literally touches my ass. I froze right then and there. And like, doors to go out were over there. And she was like just walking off that way. She didn't look to me. She didn't even talk to me. And that's what really set me off. And so after everything that happened that day, I told my mom, Lisa grabbed my ass. And she was like, you sure she didn't just walk by and like bump into you or something? And I was like, no, Mom, she grabbed, like, she did not just like touch it, she squeezed it. And I was done with that. I was like, DONE, I am done with that big B. I did not like her in the tiniest bit, but at that point, I couldn't leave. And so, there was so, like, let me tell you, there was not a lot of kids towards the point where they had to get someone else, because we had, like, I think, like, a ton of, like, animals. And so they asked another boy who was previously in the exercise class with us a few months before, and he actually, like, trained with the sheep. He was showing a sheep, and so that was pretty nice of him. And so after that confrontation, my mom was like, okay, I don't want to say anything now because it might, like, get you in trouble and ruin your contract with them. So we're going to wait until everything is over to say something. And, we haven't said anything, and that's why I'm making this YouTube video, to let you guys know and to just essentially tell the world what's been going on. And so, so once we got closer to fair, we loaded, okay, fair time. I loaded up my pigs, took them to fairgrounds. 2 of my carcass hogs were sent off that day to, carcass. And I loaded both of my pigs off into their little pen. And everything went well. I learned where Tiffany's trailer would be, where Lisa's trailer would be. And when you're in a certain type of area, whether you're taking care of sheep, steers, pigs, there is a woman who's in charge of the whole thing, making sure you guys get everything done. And her name was Michelle Peel. I actually really liked her. She was a nice woman. I got to actually, like, talk and hang out with her kids. I loved her kids. Her kids were pretty nice. And so it wasn't that bad overall. The only bad thing that I had was the one, okay, it was the day I was showing my sheep. Not my sheep, but my pigs. I was showing my 2 pigs, and I was, like, on time with everything. I got dressed. I had the bootcut jeans, the boots, the belt. I had my hair up. I was wearing a nice flannel. It was going really well. And I think I was like, things were going pretty well, except for the fact that I still had to, like, be there before. I had to get stuff done before 9 o'clock. And so the good thing was we just lived down the road from fair. So I wake up at like 6 a.m. every morning and bike there. And the only reason why I went there every morning, like, even if I didn't like, I would go there every morning because my dad gave us the money so we could pay for food every morning, lunch, and dinner time. And so I just went there for the food. Essentially, like fresh, like we had sausages, pancakes, eggs, and all that stuff. And so she cooked food for us every morning, and I did not want to be around her whatsoever. But I had to because I have to check in with her. Like, tell her, oh, hey, just letting you know I'm here. I'm going to feed my pigs and all that stuff. And, fair went by pretty well, except for the day that, I thought that when you show your pigs, you're selling them too. But no, you're showing your pigs. You're just showing them. And essentially, like, there's auction day. After you show your animals, there's auction day for all animals. And I thought they were just gonna like take my animal and somebody was gonna go buy it. They were gonna show it. I didn't know that I had to show it. So I like got there a little late because I knew we had to be like done cleaning our stalls and everything before 9. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get there a little late and then start cleaning. And she was like, are you ready? And like, for Lisa asked me, are you ready? I said, for one. She's like, you have to show your animals in like half an hour or something, in like an hour, I think it was. And it freaked me out, right? So I was not ready for auction day. I like fed my animals. I had to bike down back to our apartment and I was like freaking out. My mom was still sleeping and I'm like telling her, I gotta get ready. So I have to put on the flat boots, the boot cut jeans, put my hair back up again, and I'm like, I think I'm ready. And so, but it was not all that bad. I think Lisa, like, I was pretty on time with everything. I got there ready, dressed, and on time. Stall was cleaned out, pigs were fed, watered. Even before 9 o'clock, I was ready to show my pigs. And I actually showed one pig at auction. And basically, you're just showing your pig to the buyers. It was not that bad. Actually went pretty well. Somebody bought my pig for $5 a pound. And that was a little over $1,000. So that was like the greatest day of the year. I'm like, yay! I sold my pig for like $5 a pound. I was like, yay. So after you sell your pig, you still have to keep the pig there until the end of the week. And they would be picked up on Sunday. And so I basically still had to take care of them. I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday. And so I still took care of them, still did all my work. And it was last day. We were cleaning everything up. That day it was pretty hot, sweaty. My mom helped out too. It was fun, actually, especially working in the living experience barn. That was the time I could just like literally sit down, but there was sometimes I had to count change and stuff. But overall, the living experience barn was pretty fun. If there was like somebody in charge, like somebody different who takes her Lisa's place within the next couple of years, I'll definitely do it again. But this also, weeks have been pretty hard. After fair, they said, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're basically going to pick up a picture from fair and then take it to your buyer and then you'll get your check. And then, so here, I'll read out the messages to you guys. It was like really, really weird. So I've been texting with this girl who I actually got to hang out with a lot during fair, and we got to talking and texting. And so, boy, was it a lot. Um, we had some problems. First of all, I wasn't getting notified of what, before I got the notification what I was supposed to do, nobody was telling me. Not Sarah, like, not Brooke, not Tiffany, and so let me go back all the way. It was a bit. Okay.